This is my second video update, and I'm doing this video a couple of hours after I did my first morning video because I just have so much news that I want to get to. And in this video, I want to follow up on some comments with regards to the Biden op-ed and the sending of the HIMARS to Ukraine that Blinken made after he met with NATO Chief Stoltenberg. And I want to talk about what the Biden White House is saying. Look at this. Look at this. Man. What was I saying? The Biden White House. The Biden White House has... Well, a New York Times article claims that the Biden White House has kind of hit a snag with regards as to what to do with the Russian foreign currency reserves that they've frozen, how to confiscate them, or even if they should confiscate them. And then I want to talk about Turkey and Syria, and Turkey and Greece, and then we'll finish it off with the clown world from the father of Conor McGregor. So we'll start with the US, we'll head over to Turkey, Syria, Turkey, Greece, and then Ireland. So that's how we'll do this. And I guess it's a good spot to talk a little bit before we get walking again. So let me sit down here and we'll discuss very, very quickly what's going on with the HIMARS and the sending of these missiles to Ukraine. So Blinken was with Stoltenberg, and they had a meeting, the NATO chief, and Blinken came out with some comments with regards to the Biden op-ed and the sending of the HIMARS, and he said, he was asked about the assurances, actually, more to the point, he was asked about the assurances that the U.S. has received from Ukraine that these missiles will not be used to strike Russian territory. And Blinken said, the Ukrainians have given us assurances that they will not use these systems against targets on Russian territory. There is a strong trust bond between Ukraine and the US, as well as with our allies and partners. Blinken also dismissed the response that Russia gave after the announcement of these HIMARS to Ukraine and the risk of further escalation. Blinken responded to Moscow's response by saying the best way to avoid escalation is for Russia to stop the aggression and the war it started. Blinken was arguing that it could be over tomorrow, the war, if Moscow so chose, but is likely to go on for many months instead. So Blinken believes that this war will be prolonged for many, many months. At least that's, I imagine that is the State Department Blinken strategy. The Newland State Department Blinken strategy is to prolong this war as much as possible. And I'm sure they're hoping that whatever weapons they send, whether it's javelins or HIMARS or howitzers, whatever they send, they're hoping that they can somehow avoid a full escalation while prolonging the war, while doing damage to Russia, whether it's via the war or whether it's via sanctions, so as to get regime change, or at a very, very minimum, so as to get Russia to the negotiating table and negotiate from a position of weakness instead of a position of strength, in which case then the Biden White House can say that their Ukraine policy was a big victory, and then they enter the midterms with some type of positive foreign policy news. I mean, I guess that's kind of the entire plan of the State Department and the Biden White House in a nutshell. So let's talk about the Biden White House, and let's talk about the seizing of Russian assets, specifically the 300 billion. Well, what some people say are 300 billion, other people say it's much, much less. But let's just stay with the 300 billion in Russian foreign reserves, which have been frozen by the collective West and what the Biden White House is planning to do about that $300 billion. Now, the warmongers, the hawks, the people that really want to stick it to Russia and want to escalate, they would like to, and the crooks, the thieves, they would like to take this $300 billion that has been frozen, these foreign reserves that were frozen in outside banks outside of Russia. They would like to confiscate this $300 billion and put it towards Ukraine reconstruction. Reconstruction, right? I do the air quotes, because we all know that when they say we're going to take the $300 billion and use it towards reconstructing Ukraine, they actually mean they're going to take the $300 billion and take the $300 billion, put it in their pockets. But they're running into a little bit of a snag, because this New York Times article is pointing out that there are some people in the Biden White House, pragmatic people in the Biden White House, who say that if you are planning on confiscating this $300 billion, whether you're confiscating it to reconstruct Ukraine or whether you're confiscating it just so you can put it in your pocket, it's going to cause problems for the U.S. It will cause a lot of problems for the U.S. The devastation this is coming from the New York Times. The devastation in Ukraine brought on by Russia's war has leaders around the world calling for seizing more than $300 billion of Russian central bank assets and handing the funds to Ukraine to help rebuild the country. But the movement, which has gained momentum in parts of Europe, has run into resistance in the United States. Top Biden administration officials warned that diverting those funds could be illegal and discourage other countries from relying on the United States as a haven for investment. The New York Times points out that finance ministers in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Slovakia have urged the EU to create a way to fund the rebuilding of cities and towns in Ukraine with frozen Russian central bank assets so that Russia can be held accountable for its actions and pay for the damage it has caused. But that is not being seen as a good idea from various people in the Biden administration. They say that these funds, these frozen funds, much of them deposited in Europe, including the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland, and the other funds that have been frozen by the United States and are under the control of the United States, should not be confiscated and seized, because this will pretty much destroy the trust that people have in the United States financial system. There it is. That's what that's the predicament that the Biden White House finds itself in. I've actually talked about this in a lot of videos, that the Jake Sullivans and the Newlands and the Blinkens, all of these people, and the oligarchs as well, that are just waiting to get their grubby hands on this $300 billion. They see it right there, or whatever it is. I've heard from the last accounts that it's about $100 billion that the United States has direct access to. This $100 billion that has been frozen and is directly accessible by the U.S. government and their cronies is sitting right there, and they want to get their grubby hands on it, but they just can't, because there are some pragmatic people in the Biden White House who are saying, don't touch that money. If you touch that money and put it in your pocket, then it's going to destroy whatever trust is left of the U.S. financial system, and no one is going to want to invest or deposit money in the U.S. financial system anymore, because they're all going to be afraid. Individuals, oligarchs, states, they're all going to be afraid that after Russia, we're going to come after them, or because this happened to Russia, this can happen to them. And not only that, I'm sure they're worried that if this money does get confiscated for reconstruction of Ukraine, then countries, oligarchs, wealthy individuals, institutions are going to start pulling their money out of U.S. financial institutions just because of fear that this money is at risk of getting confiscated by U.S. authorities. So there are people in the Biden White House who are saying this is a bad idea to take this money. A very, very bad idea. Let's see what else the New York Times wrote here. Russia had hoped that keeping more than 600 billion in central bank reserves would help bolster its economy against sanctions, but it made the mistake of sending half those funds out of the country. By all accounts, Russian officials were stunned at the speed at which they were frozen. Those funds have been frozen for the past 3 months, keeping the government of President Vladimir V. Putin from repatriating the money or spending it on the war. But seizing or actually taking ownership of them is another matter. So that is coming from the NYT. As I said, the high end puts this amount at 300 billion. There are other sources, including an EU judicial commissioner who said it's actually more along the lines of 130 billion that has been frozen, 100 billion in the US and 30 billion in Europe. We don't know. Russia has not given an amount. They've been hush-hush about this whole thing. They have said that funds have been frozen, but they have not given the exact amount. So we don't know what the amount is, but let's say it's 100 billion. The Jake Sullivans and the Clinton machine and the Blinkens. You want to go in? Let's just walk through. Let's walk through. And the Blinkens said that they definitely want their hands on this money, but there are other people that are saying don't touch this. Let's just walk through. Let's walk through, right through this church. Christo? Okay. They're closing it. That guy told me. All right. I thought I was going to take you guys through. I don't know if you got a peek of it. Next time. Next time I'll take you through. But let's move on to the next story then. And that has to do with Turkey. Let's talk Turkey. Which one do I want to talk about first here? Let's talk about Syria. Let's talk about Syria. So Turkey has said that they are going to launch an anti-terrorist operation in what would be northern Syria for Syria and what would be the south of Turkey for Turkey. So Turkey will step up its efforts to create what it calls a 30-kilometer wide security zone alongside its southern border with Syria. The country's President Erdogan announced on Wednesday the Turkish armed forces are to launch an anti-terrorist operation which will target the northern Syrian cities of Tal Rifat, Manbij in particular. He told a meeting of his Justice and Development AK party in Ankara. Let me find Erdogan's quote here. There's a lot of wind today, so bear with me. We are going into the new phase of our, this is a quote from Erdogan, by the way. We are going into a new phase of our determination to form a 30-kilometer deep, 30-mile safe zone along our southern border. We will clear Tal Rifat and Manbij of terrorists, and we will do the same to other regions step by step. Now, they also stepped into Iraq, I think like 2 weeks ago, and now they're moving into Syria in order to, quote, protect the nation and eliminate what Turkey considers a terrorist threat. You know, it's Turkey's special military operation, isn't it? Everything that Erdogan is saying is, not that I agree with this incursion into Syria, because you're going to run into a lot of problems with the U.S., which is also currently occupying these parts of Syria, the U.S., which is supporting the Kurds as well, and you're going to run into problems with Russia, who supports Assad. But for Erdogan, he sees an opportunity to create his own special military operation. He wants to wipe North Syria, South Turkey of PKK terrorists, right? That's his excuse. Deterrorization, I guess you would call it. So this is gonna be really, really interesting. Erdogan he takes risks. He takes risks, and he is going to run into a lot of pushback from the U.S. and from Russia. But I think Erdogan feels that he's got enough leverage given what's going on in Ukraine and how both the the collective West, the United States and Russia, want to either win Turkey on side or keep Turkey neutral and on side. Erdogan feels that he has that leverage, and he can now strike. He can now strike in many different regions and in many different ways. And one of those regions and ways is Syria. So that guy was like, I guess he kind of video bombed me, that guy. He's like saying, very good. And he's wearing his mask. But anyway, yeah, so that's Erdogan. I wonder if when Erdogan goes into Syria, if the collective West is going to sanction Turkey. Are they going to start putting sanctions on Turkey? Are they going to cut Turkey off of SWIFT? Let's see. I lost my concentration because of those police motorcycles almost hitting me. What was I saying? Yeah, are they going to cut Turkey off of SWIFT? Are they going to embargo oil to be delivered from Turkey, or prevent oil from being delivered from Turkey? Are they going to cut Visa and MasterCard? Is McDonald's and Starbucks and Zara and H&M, are they going to leave the Turkish market? I mean, I'm just saying, you know, if Turkey does go into Syria with their very own special military operation, are we going to see sanctions against Turkey? I doubt it. Speaking of sanctions against Turkey, Erdogan also in this speech, he said that the ties between Turkey and Greece, the dialogue, not the ties, the dialogue between Turkey and Greece, specifically a security dialogue that they had going on for, I think, like the last 6 years, or maybe even longer. I think since 2012, maybe the last 10 years, they had a security dialogue, Turkey and Greece. And in that security conference, the security dialogue, this type of conference agreement, Turkey and Greece would discuss, you know, their problems. And the Cyprus is a problem. The Turkish occupation of Cyprus, that's a problem. What's going on in the Aegean with the constant incursions. The one country blames the other. Turkey blames Greece. Greece blames Turkey. That the other side keeps on flying over their sovereign airspace with fighter jets. They keep on. There's constant incursions, and the Greeks blame the Turks. The Turks blame the Greeks. And Erdogan continues to, every now and then, like every year or two, he always lays claim to various Greek islands, which are closer to Turkey. And Erdogan continuously threatens Greece and says, look, if you don't demilitarize these islands, which are close to us, well, then we might take action, or some of these islands are even ours. And you get this every couple of years. Anyway, just a lot of different problems. And then you have the East Med with the Mediterranean finding natural gas deposits, and you have all these countries now trying to get their piece of this natural gas find. You have Israel, you have Egypt, you have Cyprus, you have Greece, and you have Turkey. And each country is saying, you know what, these gas deposits, this is in our territory, in our sovereign waters, in our maritime. This covers our maritime territory, and you're getting these disputes as well, you know. And it's just a complete mess. It's a complete mess. Let me put it that way. But it looks like Erdogan is now poking the Greek. I don't know if you said the Greek. If it's the Russian bear, I don't know what you poke for Greece. I guess he's poking the Greek something, but he's poking at Greece. And let me know, what would be the animal that you're poking? If you're poking the bear, what is Erdogan doing with Greece? He's saying that Greece should not try to dance with Turkey, because Greece is going to get very, very tired trying to deal with Turkey. And let me read you some of what Erdogan said and what's going on here. Erdogan accused the Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis of sabotaging efforts to resolve long-running disputes and of trying to block deliveries of F-16 fighter jets to Turkey when Mitsotakis was visiting the U.S. And Greece does want to disrupt the delivery of F-16s and any weapons to Turkey for obvious reasons. But Erdogan is very pissed off about that. He's saying that Mitsotakis went to the U.S. and sabotaged his weapons delivery. In an address to lawmakers from his ruling party, Erdogan announced that Turkey had left a high-level strategic council agreement, which was sealed in 2010, not 2012, 2010, and has served as a bilateral cooperation platform since then. By canceling the agreement, there's a quote from Erdogan, by canceling the agreement, we will no longer hold bilateral talks with them, the Greeks, Erdogan said. He accused Greece of setting up shows with planes, and Erdogan warned it by saying, pull yourselves together. Do you not learn lessons from history? Don't dance with Turkey. You'll get tired. So that was what Erdogan said there. And yeah, just basically threatening Greece to back off from what Erdogan feels are provocative moves, specifically the trip by Mitsotakis to the United States. I think the F-16 thing. The F-16 thing really irked Erdogan. I think that really got to him. And the fact that Mitsotakis went to visit Bidenopolis in the United States and lobbied to stop any weapons deals between the U.S. and Turkey, because Mitsotakis said it would destabilize the region. That really irked Erdogan. And Erdogan's counter move, though, was connecting the F-16s and American weapons with his yes vote for Finland and Sweden in NATO. So that was how Erdogan countered. But he's still pressing Greece. He's still pressing the Greek government. And I think he does that as well because not only is he bothered about the F-16 stuff, he also understands that Greece is in a very weak position because they've cut off all their ties with Russia, and they've been dragged into this conflict with Russia. And he understands that without Russia kind of acting as a counterweight to influencing Greece by the EU and the US, he understands that Greece is now completely boxed into the collective West architecture, and the collective West, as they have done throughout history, will easily drop Greece like a hot potato if it suits them. So Erdogan understands all these things. I think that's another reason why he's poking around with Greece. And there's also the threats that he made with various Greek islands that are close to Turkey, and he has said that those islands need to be demilitarized, and some of those islands, according to Erdogan, belong to Turkey or are disputed, and he always does this. Every couple of years he does this, and Mitsotakis, for his part, when Erdogan made these statements, Mitsotakis ran to the European Union, and he told the European Union of these statements, and he called it revisionism, revising history, something like that. Mitsotakis went to the EU, and he said, "Mommy Ursula, can you do something about bad boy Erdogan?" Because that's what this really is, you know. The collective West. If this is like not a mom, it's like a relationship, and Greece is the good boy, you know. Greece is like the good boyfriend, and Erdogan is in Turkey. They're like the bad boy, you know. They're like in the relationship. They're the bad boy that the girl wants to date, and you know she'll date the nice guy, Greece, and she'll be fine. We're fine with dating the nice guy, but if and when that bad boy comes around, comes knocking on the door, then you know that the nice guy is finito. So I mean, that's kind of what this is. You know, you got the nice guy, which does everything everything that the collective West wants. Whatever the collective West wants, Greece does. And then some. They'll bend over backwards to please the collective West. You know, they'll take the collective West out to dinner. They'll buy drinks. They'll buy food. They'll buy diamonds. They'll buy cars. They'll do whatever they have to please the collective West. But when the bad boy comes around, the rebellious bad boy, well, you know, enough said. So, I mean, what a terrible analogy that is. Anyway, I think I'll end the video there before I get into some trouble. But those are the statements out of Turkey. Turkey is on the move. They are on the move in a big, big way. And that's Erdogan. Erdogan senses when he has openings and opportunities, and he takes chances. Sometimes he gets burned, but every now and then he gains ground. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained, I guess, is Erdogan's philosophy. Let's talk about Conor McGregor's dad, and we'll wrap it up there. So Conor McGregor's dad has lashed out at Zelensky. And here's the story with this clown world. This is a clown world, by the way. So let me read you what Conor McGregor's dad said. Conor McGregor's dad told Zelensky, he said, Zelensky, fight your own war. He said this on Twitter, I believe. I'm not sure, either Twitter or Instagram. Anyway, he said, Zelensky, fight your own war and keep my son's name out of your in mouth. That is what Conor McGregor's dad said. For everyone who doesn't know, Conor McGregor, MMA legendary fighter, just a legend. Let's just leave it at that. You can see his fights and learn more about him. I mean, he's a super duper star, right? Super star athlete. And he wrote this on social media, and he directed this at Zelensky. The reason he did this is because where is it here? The Irish media, a few days back, or a couple of weeks back, I'm not sure here, the Irish media, they quoted a politician from Ireland, Mark Daly, the Speaker of the Seanad, Ireland. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The upper house of Ireland's parliament. Okay, the upper house of Irish parliament. Mark Daly. I guess he was in Ukraine, and he spoke to Zelensky. And he said that Zelensky had criticized Conor McGregor for his stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. How about that? So Mark Daly, a member of the upper house of Ireland's parliament, spoke with Zelensky. Yes, he was on a trip to Kiev. He went to Kiev last month. So he went to Kiev last month. I'm sure it was on an unannounced trip because all the trips have to be unannounced. That's what the cool kids do. They make unannounced trips to Kiev. And he spoke with Zelensky, and Zelensky badmouthed Conor McGregor. This is what Daly told Irish media. He said he felt that Zelensky felt that McGregor wasn't being supportive enough of Ukraine. And so Mark Daly told reporters after his trip to Kiev that this man, Zelensky, is fighting a war, but he knows what's going on all around the world, including Ireland. In other words, Mark Daly was so impressed with Zelensky's knowledge of world events that even Zelensky knew that Conor McGregor was not speaking up about the conflict in Ukraine. In other words, he wasn't putting a Ukraine flag on his social media bio. I guess he wasn't coming out and doing public statements and saying, you know, I support Zelensky, I support Ukraine, down with Russia, down with Putin. And so this hurt Zelensky. I guess Zelensky's a fan of Conor McGregor. I imagine he is. And Zelensky was hurt by the fact that Conor McGregor wasn't kissing Zelensky's ass. Wasn't kissing Zelensky's butt. I try never to curse on these shows, but obviously he was hurt by Conor McGregor not supporting him. And so he badmouthed Conor McGregor to an Irish politician, and Conor McGregor's dad told Zelensky to keep his mouth shut. Good on you. Good on you, Conor McGregor's dad. Good on you. Whether Conor McGregor wants to talk about Ukraine or Zelensky is Conor McGregor's business. Conor McGregor is a free individual who can speak his mind about anything he wishes to speak about, especially on a political level. He may not be interested in Ukraine. He may support Putin. He may support Russia. He may support Ukraine. He may support Zelensky. Who knows? But it's up to Conor McGregor to decide what he wants to speak about and what he doesn't want to speak about. He is not beholden to Zelensky, and he is not under any kind of contract or obligation to voice his opinion one way or another. But according to Zelensky, Conor McGregor is obliged to support Zelensky and Ukraine. So that is the clown world, everybody. I think Conor McGregor's dad, though a very strong statement on social media, I understand where he's coming from. Keep my son out of your politics. That's pretty much what Conor McGregor's dad is saying. Keep my son out of your politics. I will end it there, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. Take care.